One topic that we, as a faculty, should discuss is the topic of self-worth. On a personal level, there have been many occasions where I've been unable to see myself as worth it. I think in our program, there's this attitude that you need to be the best due to many of us aspiring to go to medical school. And not being the best can make you feel unable to reach your goal and further question your worth.
One mental health topic that should be talked more about is imposter syndrome. In a program with so many wonderful, talented, and intellectual individuals, it's very easy to start comparing yourself to others, and this can lead to stress and burnout. It's important to remember that the accomplishments of others don't diminish your own personal achievements.
One mental health topic that I feel is not as readily discussed in our program is the effects of low self-esteem. Personally for me, I've woken up countless times thinking, do I deserve to be here? Which is a completely valid thought considering everyone is so studious and works so hard in this program. I think our educators could put a little bit more emphasis on how to deal with these thoughts before we start spiraling into this cycle of low self-worth and low self-esteem. This is especially important to incoming students because they need to know that they deserve to be here and they belong just as much as anyone else.
I think that one mental health topic that learners and educators in health sciences should talk more about is school stress. I know that a lot of us feel pressure to do well in school, and I think that more students should know that they're not alone in their journey, and that Queens has a lot of support systems built for them if they ever need it.
In a word, balance.
I think that something that needs to be talked about more in the health sciences field is taking a break from things for your own mental health, because as a university student and as someone in a wonderful but very rigorous and demanding program, there's a lot of stress and pressure that comes along with that, especially since we all have very high standards for ourselves. And during a pandemic, it's isolating, it's lonely, so sometimes I think it's hard for us to take a step back and recognize that we need a little more time for ourselves to take care of our mental health.
I think that across the board, from undergrads to grad students to staff and faculty, everyone needs to be focused on prioritizing a healthy work-life balance and setting time aside for self-care, especially now with so many of us working from home and classes shifting from hybrid to online back to in-person. I think the lines between what is work time and what is not work time have become more blurred than ever, and that makes it really, really easy for the culture of overwork in academia to take over. I think too that the pandemic has added an extra layer of guilt or sort of this feeling that we're not working hard enough because so many of us are working from home and that doesn't always feel like we're at work. So I think it's really important for students, professors, staff, faculty to be cognizant of that and really prioritize taking breaks and maintaining that work-life balance as best we can in order to protect our mental health.
A topic that I think that we should be learning about more, or rather taking to heart more, because I know that we all talk about it a lot, is burnout. I think that a lot of us, including myself, need to take, the recommendations to take care of ourselves, because as future healthcare professionals, how are we going to be able to take care of others if we can't take care of ourselves? So that comes first and foremost.
A mental health topic I think learners and educators within healthcare should talk more about is burnout. Pursuing a career in the health sciences requires an immense amount of perseverance, dedication, and resilience. At times, the career path is a time, resource, and effort-intensive journey. But along the path, we should take time and be appreciative of how far we've come, but most importantly, take time to understand and care for ourselves. This will pave the path to build a sustainable career path filled with passion.
I truly believe that we should be talking more about the burden of care. Many learners in health sciences are working in or are hoping to work in the healthcare field at the forefront of healthcare delivery. But being a healthcare worker is a truly demanding job. You're working and learning in high-stress environments, and you often see people on their very worst day. This can take a toll on you as the healthcare provider. And while burnout amongst healthcare workers is being acknowledged now more than it has in the past, particularly with COVID-19, we still don't talk about it enough. And we don't prepare learners going into the healthcare field with strategies for how to deal with this type of stress, and even just to expect this burden that caring for others might take on them as people and as healthcare providers. So I really think that's something we should talk more about.
I feel we need to do a better job acknowledging the reality that balancing the challenges and demands of school, work, and home life are not easy for anyone, whether educators or learners. The individual and collective weight of these responsibilities may sometimes feel overwhelming, especially in recent years with the added pressures from COVID. Nevertheless, we need to emphasize that recognizing our limitations, talking to someone, or asking for help is not a weakness, but a strength that provides relief from the mental health stress we all face.
Taken some really great strides towards being more open about our mental health struggles as a community, which I'm very happy to see. I do think, though, that we could do better. I've really struggled with anxiety throughout the years, and early on, I felt sure that I was the only person to be struggling behind this smiling face that I plastered on daily. And at the time, I came across this book called Monkey Mind, a memoir of anxiety by Daniel Smith. And reading this book really opened my eyes to the fact that I wasn't alone in the physiological and mental feelings that anxiety was posing on me. And that by itself was incredibly freeing. So if we could just take that step further so that we weren't just saying, I'm really struggling right now, which is great, but to instead give an indication of how we're struggling, I think the amount of support we'd be able to provide to each other would grow through this better understanding.
Health sciences educators and learners should talk about depression and anxiety, as they're the two biggest problems in the world right now. One of the girls from my friend's school, she went to an emergency room for her depression, but the psychiatrist wasn't there that day, and the front desk told her that he can't be here for a little bit if she wants to wait. But she didn't want to feel like a burden to other people, so she went home, and a few days later she died. I think that a lot of people know that mental health is a problem in society right now, but they're not taking it as seriously as they should be.
I think it would be really helpful for health sciences to talk about what we know from the evidence in terms of supporting our well-being and mental health, and what constitutes mental health concerns/problems, and how these differ from mental disorders/illness.
I think it's important for everybody, whether it be faculty, students, or staff, within the Faculty of Health Sciences across the university, to remember that our abilities and disabilities, our strengths and weaknesses don't define us, and that our job, all of our job, is to make education as equitable as possible for everybody, and to help each other work through whatever challenges we may be facing at a given time.
The mental health topic that a lot of us could learn more about is the many mental health resources that Queen's has to offer. And this is particularly more relevant to first year health sciences. First year on its own is a very difficult task because it's a lot of adjusting and there's a lot of stress. And that stress has been amplified due to the fact that we have now moved completely online and we no longer have that social support that we need. So in response to this, I think that if instructors on a more frequent basis talk more about what Queen's has to offer in terms of mental health and also academic resources like SAS, I think, that can help us plan our lives a little bit better. It can firstly help us navigate our courses a lot more smoothly and also overall reduce the stress in our lives. We should talk more about the impact of COVID-19 on mental health. COVID-19 took a toll on a lot of people's mental health, including mine. I wish when we talk about the impact of COVID-19, we can talk about its impact on our mental health. We should talk more about how stressful change and uncertainty can be. In health sciences, things change all the time. In research, in career planning, in life, #COVID. You learn to always have more than just plan B, or sometimes giving up planning anything at all. It's frustrating. Learning to be flexible and adapt is the most painful, but probably the most important lesson I've learned.